Good afternoon, all. We will wait for 2 minutes for all attending students. Good afternoon, all. We will start in 1 minute. Hi, Divya. Shall we start?
Yes, sure.
Welcome, all. At Competitive Careers, we believe in transparent and expert guidance. With the same philosophy, we usually do the webinar with respective immigration departments. So, welcome all to UKVA webinar today. I'm welcoming Divya Malhotra, Customer Account Manager, UKVI, British High Commission, to start the webinar. Divya, you can start now. Thank you.
Thank you, Rupesh. Do you want me to share the screen now? Yeah.
Please.
All right, thank you very much, and good afternoon, everyone. And a very warm welcome to all of you in today's webinar. My name is Divya Malhotra. I'm the Customer Account Manager in UK Visas and Immigration. I take care of the education sector. It's a pleasure to be a part of today's session, which is on student visa briefing. So I'll be taking you through the new PBS route, which is the point-based system called as student route now. The much talked about the graduate route, the border health measures at border, and the normal process of student visa application. So we'll start with the presentation now. Please do feel free to post in your question in Q&A. However, please do listen to the presentation completely. Most of your queries should be resolved during the presentation. And after the presentation, if you still have any queries, please do feel to post in, as it should be specific to UK visas and not the universities or the courses. So we'll start with the presentation now. I hope you can see my screen here. Okay, my first slide, this talks about the normal UK visas operation currently in South Asia. So most of our visa application centers have resumed their services and are very much open now. This includes all the countries, including India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal, and Sri Lanka. So all the visa application centers are open now. If you want to check the nearest center, nearest VAC location near to your place, please do visit VFS Global website and check the details there for the timings also. Our processing time remains the same. We'll be processing all the visa application within 15 working days from the VAC appointment. So when you submit your biometrics at Visa Application Center, the 15 working days are counted from there. We also have resumed with the priority visa services, which is also available at limited locations as of now. Again, I will advise you to check at the visa application center at their website, which is vfsglobal.com. So this is about the operations that we are currently working with. And as soon as the situation and condition gets better, we'll be resuming all our services very soon in terms and conditions with the government regulations. We'll move on to the UK's new points-based system now. So this new system will be introduced from 2021, and this is already effective this month, wherein you will be applying for the student visa application. So this system will ensure that the students around the globe has access to the UK's world-class universities. So this will give equal opportunities to all the students globally, which was previously limited to the European Union students. So it ends the free entry for the European Union students, and they will also need to apply for a student visa going forward. So if you need to stay informed and need to know more about the point-based system, you can log into this link and this website and get more information. However, in my next slide, I'll give you the details about the student route. So this student route is now the new route, which has replaced the tier 4 student route. So it is no more called a tier 4. It is now known as the student route. So when you go online on gov.uk to apply for a student visa, so it will not be called as tier 4 now. It is called as student route now. So it has completely replaced the tier 4 route. However, the terms and conditions of this route still remains the same. You still need to have an offer from an approved education institute to get admission there. You still need to have the English language skills. You still need to support yourself financially and show the maintenance funds to avail for a student visa. However, the name has changed from tier 4 to student route. This has gone effective from October 2020, which is this month itself. As I mentioned, it offers a single and streamlined application process for all the students globally, including all the international students, including from South Asia, will still need to meet the same academic and language requirements. There are also some positive changes for the students, which is now you can apply up to 6 months ahead of your course start date, which was limited to 3 months earlier in Tier 4 route. So in the students route, you can plan well, plan well in advance and can apply up to 6 months in advance from your course study date. So that's one of the advantage given to the in this new route. So the requirements, as I mentioned, is still the same. I'll be covering the documents requirement and the funds requirement in my slides later. However, this is to let you know that this is an open route for all the global students will have access to the UK's university, including the European Union students now. They will need to apply for a visa, and you can apply 6 months ahead of your course start date. I'll move on to the graduate route now, the most talked about since we have. So yes, this route is still happening. All the students who graduate successfully with a degree at an undergraduate level or a postgraduate level with a sponsored higher education provider with a track record of compliance will be eligible for this route. So everyone who graduates in summer 2021 and after, irrespective of the course start date, will be eligible for this route. So this is a separate route. There needs to be an application for this route, and you will need to pay an application fee and immigration health surcharge. So this route is for 2 years. You can stay there, you can study and look for work there during these 2 years. And this does not require any sponsorship from the universities or from the higher education provider. It's a non-sponsored route. So this can be applied while you are still there in UK. It's an in-country application process. However, you still need to have the valid Tier 4 student visa, which must have been issued if you have applied before 5th October, or a student route which who have applied after 5th of October. So you still need to have a valid student visa at the time of application of graduate route. So as I mentioned, there needs to be an application for this. You will need to submit the biometrics there in UK itself and undergo certain checks like identity and security checks. And you need to meet the suitability requirements, which is you'll need to successfully clear the course that you have applied for. So that's talks about the graduate route. It's a non-settlement route. So this 2 years does not contribute to the settlement rights. So that's we have been very clear since the beginning. I'll move on to the next slide, which talks about the changes that the Home Office has placed to support the students due to the pandemic. So we flexibilities in visa rules, including the distance learning and the online learning. So if you have already secured an admission in the university, you can still go ahead and start with your online learning. And if you are in UK before 6th of April 2021, you are still eligible for graduate route, which is a 2 years post-study work visa. So this rule is just has been made flexible just because of the pandemic. However, earlier in the Tier 4 route, the distance learning or the online learning wasn't allowed. So this has been made flexible because of the pandemic. Also, we have introduced a new student route now. It's a more simplified and single streamlined route wherein students can apply globally and apply for this route, and it's also can be applied 6 months in advance instead of 3 months earlier. So this gives you greater flexibility to plan for your travel to UK and plan for your studies in UK. And also along with that, we have extended visa minutes to 90 days. So some of the students may be aware that we were issuing minutes visa validity only for 30 days before the pandemic. But now till the end of this year, all visas will be issued for 90 days. Again, this gives a lot of flexibility and a lot of time to the students to plan for their travel, to arrange for their air tickets and arrange for the accommodation. So the visa that you will receive, it will be valid for 90 days. So this is till the end of this year that the process has been changed. We have opened the new graduate route from the summer of 2021, so including those who have started with their distance learning or the online learning, and they are in UK before 2021, they will remain eligible to apply for the graduate route. So that's about the flexibility and the changes put in place because of the pandemic and the COVID-19. And I'm sure there are a lot of uh, provisions being given by the universities as well to the students to arrange for their quarantine period or the self-isolation period as well, and other safety measures also. So I'll moving on to the next slide, which talks about the UK border health measures. So as per the current process, all the travelers who are arriving in UK, they must self isolate themselves for 14 days after you arrive at UK. So this is a mandatory requirement. Also, before you arrive to UK, you need to fill up a contact form, and you must provide your contact details and the journey details before arriving to UK. So this is one of the requirement, and this is reviewed after every 3 weeks. However, whenever you're traveling, if you're traveling in November, if you're traveling in December or January, please do visit this website of UK Border Control to check what are the current measures. As per current date, yes, you will need to self isolate there for 14 days after you arrive there. So, but do check whenever you travel there to ensure that you are updated with the latest health measures in UK. Moving on, we are starting with I'm starting with the general advice on student application. What is the process? What is the requirements? And I do get a lot of queries on the application process, so I'll be covering that in details in next 2-3 slides. So what are the requirements? You have to have an offer to study in the UK at a licensed educational institute, which means it has to be a sponsored higher education institute. You must be able to speak, read, write, and understand English. You need to possess those English language skills, and you should be having the funds needed to pay for your course and also the maintenance funds. When you can apply, as I mentioned, as early as 6 months before your course start date. uh, at least 3 weeks or 15 working days before you need to travel. So 15 working days is our processing time. Please take into account the visa appointment date. So if you're applying today online, it takes 5 to 7 days to get an appointment at Visa Application Center. So once you go to Visa Application Center to submit your biometrics, and then your 15 working days is taken by visa department to process the application. So please plan your application accordingly. You have enough time. You can start as early as 6 months for your visa application, so please plan accordingly. I'm moving on to the supporting documents requirements for the student visa application. So when you're applying for your student visa, you must provide a valid and current passport for your travel. And this is the first and foremost requirement, a confirmation of acceptance of studies, CAS letter from your course provider. So course provider is your university, is your higher education institute who will give you the admission letter, a CAS letter to confirm that you are admitted to the university. So that has to be an unconditional letter. And once you receive this CAS letter from the university, you can go ahead online and apply for your student visa. What are the other requirements along with these two documents is the maintenance funds. You need to have a proof that you have enough money to support yourself and pay for your course. This will vary depending on your circumstances and on depending on which university that you're applying for. A valid ATAS certificate if your course requires it. So if it's a technical course and your university has mentioned that you will need to submit the ATAS certificate, so that's also one of the requirement. Proof of parental or other legal guardian consent if you are under 18. So if you are going as a child on a child student visa, you need to have a parental consent letter or a legal guardian consent letter. If you're submitting the funds from your parents' account, you need to establish the relationship. That is, you need to provide a proof of relationship to your parents if you're under 18 or above 18. That is for the funds. Tuberculosis test results, yes, that's one of the mandatory requirement for all the Indian nationals. So you need to submit the TB test certificate, which needs to be done from the approved UKVI approved medical center. Okay, and a written consent for your application from your financial sponsor if you have received a sponsorship for your course fees and living cost in last 12 months. So if your studies are being sponsored by any of the financial institute, so you need to submit the sponsorship letter as well, which includes all the details as to how much is this sponsorship and how much period is being covered for. So those are the supporting documents. I'll cover in details about the funds requirements. So that's one of the top query that I received. So you need to provide an evidence of your funds in your bank account. If you are applying for a student visa, how much is the requirement? If your university is inside London, you need to show the funds £1,265 for each month of your course up to 9 months. So this comes to around £11,385 approximately. So that's if your university is in London. So if your university is outside London, it's £1,015 each month for 9 months. So this is around £9,100 approximately. So that's the maintenance funds that you need to show to ensure that you will be able to bear your expenses in UK. How can you show these funds in your account? It can either be through a savings account in student's name or in the parent's name, or it can be through an education loan. If not loan, it can also be through an official financial sponsorship or a scholarship from any of the institute or the education institute. These are the three ways through which you can show your funds. So if you're showing your funds through your own savings account or through your parent savings account, so the required funds must be held for at least 28 consecutive days, and the qualifying period starts on the date that payment is made online for the visa. So that means if you're showing your funds to savings account, you need to make sure that the funds are held in that account for at least 28 days. So that's one of the criteria for checking for the visa officer if the funds were maintained for these many days or not. If it's through the education loan, we need to see an unconditional letter from the bank saying that this loan will be, the amount will be disbursed to student's account before he travels to UK. So it has to be an unconditional letter. The only condition acceptable is subject to visa clearance. There shouldn't be any other condition which says that amount will be disbursed after first quarter, after second quarter. So that's not acceptable. And if the funds are being shown, if you're submitting the sponsorship letter or the scholarship letter, it should have all the details as to how much is being sponsored, how much of amount is being sponsored, and what is the period of studies that is being covered. So it needs to have all these details. There are a lot of queries that I receive about whether the bank account, which bank account is allowed. So it has to be either be a nationalized state level or regional level bank. We do not accept any cooperative bank accounts. Also, the fixed deposits are acceptable as proof of maintenance funds. However, the stocks, the shares, the provident fund, these funds are not acceptable as proof of maintenance funds. So that's also one of the top queries that I keep receiving from the students and the parents as well. So this talks about the funds in details. I'll move on. Yesterday, so effective yesterday, the IHS fees has increased For students, it's 470 pounds per year. So it depends on the duration of the course. So it was 300 pounds earlier, and this has been increased to 470 pounds now. This was a planned, increase, wherein we've announced it earlier that there are plans to change to increase the IHS. So IHS fees is basically the international health surcharge, which is paid to the NHS, which is National Health Scheme. So once you pay this covers you for all the primary medical and secondary medical coverage in UK. So you will be able to access all the medical services as any UK national would be able to access there in UK. So this has changed effective yesterday, 27th of October. This is a discounted rate for students. For all the other application, it's 624 pounds. It was 400 pounds for them earlier and 300 pounds for student earlier, which is now 470 pounds for students. And
Hi Divya. Hi Divya. I think your internet connection is unstable. So just wait for a moment. All attendees, please wait for a minute. Divya will be back soon. Hi attendees, please wait for a minute. There might be some issue with Divya's internet connection. She will be back within 1 minute. Thank you. Hi students. Divya will back soon within a minute. Please wait. Yeah. Hello, student. Just I discussed with Divya. She's coming. There was a problem with her internet connection. She's coming back. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for your waiting and sorry for inconvenience. Hello, guys. Meantime, please type your question in question and answer panel. Please type your questions there. Divya will go through your questions and will answer during this session only. She is coming back within a minute. Thank you. Hi Divya, welcome back.
Yeah, I'm so sorry about the network issue.
Yeah, that's fine. It can happen anywhere. I'm
Yeah.
just sharing my screen so you can start. Yeah. So you can start sharing your screen now.
Yeah. So
Thank you
I
very
think
much,
you
student.
last heard about the IHS, right? I'm sorry about the disturbance because of the IT issues. So I was referring to the IHS increase. So this is increased effective yesterday, which is
Hi Divya.
would be
I
to.
think there might be some speed issue. So yeah, I think if you go slow, it will be helpful.
Okay,
Yeah.
sure. Okay, so I was mentioning that IHS, which is International Health Surcharge, this is actually a payment for national health scheme in UK, which covers you for all the primary and secondary medical services in UK. You will be able to access most of the medical services in UK, as any UK citizen would be eligible to do that. So yesterday, so all the applications that will be, I wanted to make sure all the students. So, while assessing the visa applications, there are certain risks which are identified, and we wanted to make you all aware about this. So while making the, while assessing the visa applications, we've come across students who have poor English language ability. See, the English language skills is one of the requirement for the student visa application. So, though we have left it on the higher education institute to assess the English language, however, we are trusting the higher that they keep the standards
We are sorry to interrupt.
of English language, keep their standards as high as they have kept it throughout the last
Yeah,
years.
sorry to
So,
interrupt.
the
Your
English
voice is
language
breaking.
is one of the risks that is being identified, and during the interviews, we have come across the students who are not able to communicate in English. So this is one of the risks identified. And also there have been certain applications which have had, yeah, Rupesh.
Yeah, yeah, Divya. I think there is a problem
Yeah, I
with
can hear you.
your speed. So I think,
Sorry, I can't get you, Rupesh.
hello. Yeah, can you hear? Oh, sorry. Can you hear me?
Shall I go ahead with the presentation?
Yeah. So what I think we should do is to switch off the video and try, because I think the internet speed there is a bit low. So if you switch off the video, it might goes well. Hello, students. Sorry for the inconvenience caused. Please wait for a minute. Divya is restarting her system as the voice was not clear. So please wait for a minute again. Sorry for the inconvenience caused. Thank you. Divya.
Yes, Rupesh, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I think we should just go without video. That might helpful
Yes.
for you.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sorry about that. I've logged in from my mobile now and I'm not switching on my video. I'll continue with the presentation, and as it was my last slide for the presentation.
Okay.
Okay, so I was mentioning about the risk identified with the student visa applications. So we have identified poor English skills as one of the risk, and after that, study gaps. We have noticed that there have been a lot of study gaps when students are applying for their student visa. They have done their masters already. They are working here in India, and then they have applied for the master's course. It's not that it cannot be applied, but it has to be a progression of the previous courses or relevant to the education background they have done earlier. So that's one we wanted to take, we want students to be aware of. And there have been certain applications wherein false bank statements and the forged documents have been submitted, and due to which the visa applications are refused. So this is also kind of top tips wherein we mentioned that when you're submitting your document, it has to be genuine and original documents. It you the all the forged documents or the false bank statements will the applications will definitely be refused. While the application form for the student visa is filled, you need to ensure that the applications are transparent and honestly filled. There has to be entire information mentioned about any kind of previous refusals that the student may have had for any other country, maybe, or previous refusals for UK. So that has to be honestly filled in the application form. We also look for there is a lack of transparency in the source of funding of the funds that are shown that are shown to the UKVI. So origin of funds or cash, there isn't very clarity or transparency as to how the student has obtained the funds. So this also act as one of the risk here. And bank loans, duplicate loans and unverified bank statements. So there are kind of duplicate loans being documents being submitted. There are unverified bank statements. When we verify the statements from the bank, so the bank is unable to verify those statements. So this is one of the hindrance and the cause of the refusals for visas. Credibility of the applications, so as I mentioned, the application has to be genuine applications for the genuine students who genuinely wants to study in UK and gain that degree or qualifications from UK, and to gain those skills. So the credibility of the application, it has to be genuine student uh, who is submitting all the information correctly and honestly. uh, we have come across certain applications wherein non-disclosure of travel history and other facts are found. So this is also one of the refusal reasons. So I'm covering here what all can be the reasons for refusal here. So along with the requirement to submit all the documents, which has to be genuine documents, you need to make sure that the information given in the application form is complete and accurate in entirety, and the applications are credible. The student possess English language skills. So these are the requirements to ensure that the applications are successfully issued. So that almost ends my presentation. I'm sorry about the IT issues here, but I have certain questions with me here which were submitted in advance, and I'll be taking those questions, and we'll also pick up some live questions from Q&A section.
I think Divya, it will be good like if you can start your video. I think now speed is okay. I think there is no issue with the speed.
Okay, so I won't be able to share the screen through mobile. So that would be okay.
Yeah. Yeah, fine.
Okay. Okay, so I'm just taking up the questions now, which were submitted to me in advance. I'm just looking at the laptop right now. There is a question from Dennis on new point-based system. 10 points are for English proficiency test. Is that means IELTS or PT or any one of the approved exam is a must? What will happen when university offers admission without asking for IELTS? So as I mentioned during the presentation, English language rules have not significantly changed, and we still have the expectations that the higher education institute adhere to the high standards and remains that. Some higher education institute does have a flexibility to waive off the IELTS exam, so that's not the mandatory requirement. IELTS exam is not of the mandatory requirement. It's still the sponsors who will assess your English language capabilities. There could be certain situations wherein the student is asked in for or called for an interview and for certain details, and if it is during the interview we make out that the student is not able to communicate in English, so that can be a cause of concern. However, it's not a IELTS is not the mandatory requirement.
So sorry to interrupt.
Next question I have from Harsh.
Yeah, regarding the same, like interview, like we heard of some interview of some students in some region. So is that uh, random or?
Sorry, your voice is breaking, Rupesh. I can't hear you clearly.
We heard about news about like interview of some students, maybe in some region or maybe students with weak profile. So, like, is it random or it's you are interviewing each student now?
No, it's absolutely random. During the assessment, if the visa officer feels that he needs to understand more information about the student, about the course he has opted for, about the university that he's chosen, and if there are any other details required related to funds, the students are randomly asked, wherein wherein the application is application based. So wherever the assessor feels that he would need more information, whether the student is genuine or not, the students are called for the interview. It's not that for each and every case we are calling students for the interview.
Thank you.
Yeah. Next question I have from Harsh, who is asking about what is the current processing time for visa application. So as I've covered in the presentation, the processing time remains 15 working days after you submit your biometrics at Visa Application Center. So 15 working days is as good as 3 weeks, and you can take into account 1 week for your visa center appointment. So at least 1 month before your travel date should be your ideal time to submit your application. Javik is asking about a brief about interview for visa. So as I mentioned, interviews happens when they are referred by assessing officers to understand the student's circumstances more or to clear any discrepancies. So in those scenarios, those students are called for the interview. Next question I have from Bimalendu, who is asking about any changes for students' dependent visa requirement or process. So there aren't any changes in the dependent visa as well. So it remains the same. The requirement remains the same. Apart from the IHS fees, which I have mentioned, so it's for the students as well as the dependents, £470 per annum. So apart from that, there aren't any changes in the student route and the student dependent route. So there aren't any other changes apart from the IHS fees. Abhishek Soni asked about, am I eligible for PSW in January 2021 intake? Yes, definitely. If you're going in January 2021 intake and you're successfully completing your graduate course or a postgraduate course after summer 2021, definitely, yes, you will be eligible. Okay. Pradeep asked, dependent visa file are getting refused by High Commission by stating that there is lack of evidence, but when a student carry all these documents and submit in VFS, they do not scan all these documents, saying these documents are not required. So what is the fault of student in this? So definitely I agree, there is no fault of student in this. The VFS staff should be scanning all the documents submitted by the student. So if there are concerns which are genuine and you're receiving decisions as per those, so these cases should go for admin review. You can file for admin review or complain at the VFS center. So all these genuine cases, the students shouldn't be suffering if the VFS has not scanned the document. Manpreet Kaur asked about the details about 10 points for English language. As I've already covered during the presentation, English language is one of the requirement wherein we have entrusted the Higher Education Institute to assess the English language credibility. So this is still assessed by the sponsors for English language skills. Mahendra Thapa is asking about the dependent visa. Do they need to apply it together at the time of visa application, or it can be applied later when you reach UK? So yes, there can be a kind of a gap wherein if the dependent is applying after you have arrived in UK, so that is okay. So the major part of the dependent to be eligible for the graduate route, they have to be with the student, with the main applicant in the major part of the studies with the applicant. So if there is a gap of 1 or 2 months, so yes, I think that should be okay. So it's not necessary to be applied together. You can wait for the visa of the main applicant and then go ahead and apply for it. Uh, Again, I have a same query from Kavya, who is asking total time it takes for applying to visa till approval and all the other procedure. So if your application is a straightforward application and there isn't any other further requirement in your application, as I have mentioned, it takes 15 working days plus your time at appointment at the visa application center. So, and if your application requires further details and if there is any further requirement, it can be longer than that as well. Okay, someone is asking about the point-based system. I've already covered that during the presentation. Latest details about student visa updation, that is already being covered. Indira Shah is asking, if I enroll for a master's degree for 2021 September, am I eligible for post-study work permit? Definitely you will be eligible. Rest of the questions, it's about requirement for UK visa. That has already been covered during the presentation. Post-study work has already been covered. Visa requirements for a diploma student. So if you're going on a student visa route, so the requirements are similar. So there isn't any different requirement for a diploma student. Okay, so there's a question from Kadri, who's asking, what about post-study work? What is the difference between 1 year and 2 year courses? And PSW is same for 1 year and 2 year courses. So yes, the post-study work is for 2 years. So whether you're going on a graduate course or a postgraduate course, till the time you're graduating in summer 2021, or after that, you are eligible for 2 year post-study work. It does not matter whether you are on a graduate course or a postgraduate course or a 1 year or a 2 year course. Okay, there is a question from Rohit Mahajan who's asking why there are number of cases a student denied boarding at airport even they had a valid visa. Airline told them it's an instruction of embassy personnel. What is the truth? So I think I cannot really comment on the individual cases, but the border security and UKVI both reserve the right to take action where needed to safeguard the UK border. So I won't be commenting on the individual cases, but there can be certain situations where these calls or decisions can be taken. So I think I've covered most of the questions related to visas, which were submitted in advance. And now I'll be picking up some questions from the Q&A section here.
Yeah, Divya, there are more than 100 questions there. So
Yeah, I could imagine that. So there's a lot of questions which are repeated, but I don't mind taking them again. So Gati is asking, as you mentioned that English is compulsory, so do we need to take an IELTS test or an IELTS UKVI test? What is the difference between these two? So you, as I mentioned earlier, IELTS is not a mandatory test that needs to be taken. Your university will let you know what is the requirement as per the course that you are choosing there in the university. But UKVI accept the IELTS as well as IELTS UKVI test both, but that's not the mandatory requirement. Okay. Next, can family member pay fees from UK, for example, brother or sister on behalf of the applicant? Well, I'm afraid that is not allowed. The fees can be paid either by the student or the parents or legal guardians. So if you're showing maintenance funds from the account, it has to be your account or your parents or legal guardians account. The siblings account cannot, they cannot pay. Their account is not acceptable. Um, I'll be leaving the questions on courses. Okay, I can see one question from Poonam here for the GIR route, who's asking if one semester is done in India via local partner university, will it affect GIR route? So my understanding is the entirety of the course should be done in UK to avail the GIR route. However, if you are part of the study abroad programs, there are certain programs wherein the different universities in different countries can be gone. So that can be one of the possible route. However, it has to be the entirety of the course has to be in UK. It cannot be that the last semester in UK and you are eligible for the GIR route. Secondly, her question is if subjects has changed, will that affect GIR route? So the subjects or the course that you're doing, the approved CAS letter that you have on the course, that that course has to be there on your CAS letter while you are availing for your GIR route. So it has your student visa will be approved on your CAS letter course. So the course mentioned on your caste letter has to be completed to be eligible for the GIR route. Okay, I am just looking for other
Hi, Divya.
questions related to.
I think the connection was disturbed once you covered the IHS part. So it would be great if you can repeat the IHS part because many are asking about health surcharges.
Okay, sure. So IHS, when I was covering that, so I mentioned there is a change, there is an increase in the IHS fees effective yesterday. So now the IHS fees is £470 per annum for the students, which is at the discounted rate. So this uh, fees will go towards the NHS payments, National Health Services, and by paying these this amount, you will be eligible to access any primary or secondary care medical services in UK, as any other UK resident or UK national is eligible for. So this is for the NHS, which is kind of an insurance, medical insurance for the students, and it remains at the 25% discounted rate for the students, as for the other immigrants it's been increased from £400 earlier to £624 now. Okay, I'll move on to the question again. Kanisha Shah is asking about the Duolingo accepted or not. So no, in it is not accepted, but in most of the cases, HEI, that is your higher education institute, will assess the applicants before issuing a CAS. So as per my information, that is not recognized. Duolingo is not recognized, but mostly it's the sponsors or the universities who assess these applicants before issuing the CAS. Okay, Ajay Nami is asking, is there a cap on the number of years acceptable to UKVI as a study gap? See, there is no fixed number of years for study gaps. There could be study gaps. I during this presentation cannot pre-assess the application. It depends on individual circumstances and individual previous background, study background, and what you're pursuing now. So I won't be able to give you the exact answer for this. There is no fixed number of years to be, that if you cannot have more than 2 years study gap, you cannot have more than 4 years study gap. So there is no exact answer for this, but it has to be a natural progression towards your studies. So that's how the visa officer will assess the application. Lokesh has a specific question. If I apply for visa after 15 November, when could I expect the visa decision? So again, you can do your calculations. It depends when you get your appointment at Visa Application Center, 15 working days after you submit your biometrics at Visa Application Center. Robert is asking, do you have any indication of how long the ATAS application will take for students starting their program in January 2021? Okay, so that's a good question. So ATAS process is in itself 4 to 6 weeks process. So if that is one of your requirement in your course, do apply for your ATAS certificate as soon as possible. It's a separate process. It is applied to Home Office directly, and it does takes 4 to 6 weeks. So after you receive your ATAS certificate, only then you will be able to apply for your student visa, which is, again, as I told you, it takes 15 working days plus your appointment date. So if that's one of the requirement, please submit your application for ATAS as soon as possible. Okay, I'm just scrolling through the questions. Hemang Patel is asking for fees for applying for a visa. So for a student visa, it's approximately 34,000 currently. And it is the same for the dependent visa. Please do for the exact amount, do go to the VFS Global website.
So, Divya, some students are asking about like academic requirements for the student visa, say for the percentage or backlogs or related course. So, what your take on that?
So that's not for the visas to decide. So that's the universities who will let the students know what is the requirement and what is the percentage required. As I've been mentioning that it's the universities who will assess the English language, who will check the academics of the students, and based on the score sheet or score sheet submitted by the students, university gives the cash letter or issues cash letter to the students. So it's entirety on the higher education institute who will decide the percentage for the specific course applied for.
So, the in new route also it will be the same like as it was in the tier 4.
Yes, it will be the same, and there hasn't been any changes in that. Okay, there is a question from Rohit Mahajan. Is there need to show funds source if saving account of students or parents? Yes, if you're showing your funds, your maintenance funds through your own account or through your parents' account, there has to be a legible source of fund. So, there could be the transfer within last 28 days or within last month. So you could probably share the ITR of the parents if you're showing funds through your parents account, but that's not a mandatory requirement. If you specify the details as to what is the job role of your parents and what is their source of income, that's not a necessary requirement. But if you are in case you're called for an interview, there can be question as to where these funds came from. This could obviously from the business or from the job that your parents are doing, or the savings from your parents account, or savings or investments done by your parents. Okay, there is a query from Pardeep who is asking, nowadays the visa results are getting late. What is the exact reason for this? We are processing most of the visa application within 15 working days itself. I cannot go into the specifics if there have been any. However, I've mentioned if there are straightforward cases and there isn't any other requirement on that case, any other documentation or any other requirement which is required by the visa officer to be assessed, it could be longer. Otherwise, if it's a straightforward case, it is 15 working days. Alkesh is asking, can we pay fees payment from the cooperative bank? Well, I think you can pay the fees from the cooperative bank, but if you're showing your funds through cooperative bank, that is not acceptable. Pooja Sharma is asking for post-study work. Is there sponsorship should be required by someone? No. So as I mentioned during the presentation, it's a non-sponsored route. So there isn't any sponsorship required for post-study work. You can, during those 2 years, you can work, you can look for work, you can do short-term studies, you can do part-time jobs. So this is a non-sponsored route and it doesn't require any sponsorship from the higher education institute. Okay, so Lokesh has a query here. He's asking, in the 2-year postgraduate degree with 1-year placement, is the 1-year placement included in post-study work, or will it or we will get 2-year post-study work after the 2-year degree. So if your placement is an integrated part of your course, so if your course is for 3 years, which is 2 years as your study and 1 year as your placement, and your course end date is after your placement, so if it's an integrated part of your course, so you will still get 2-year post-study work. Okay, Rupesh, I think I can go on with the questions. There are a lot of questions. So if you can see any common general questions, I'll be happy to answer that.
I think some questions are regarding the dependent
Mhm.
for masters only or dependents for other courses as well. So for postgraduate diploma or master degree or
Yes, so dependents are only allowed for a master's degree. So it's not allowed for the undergraduate courses.
and another is like dependent file. Do you want student and dependent to apply together or first student and then dependent?
It's absolutely applicant's choice. As I mentioned, if the dependent wants to wait for the decision of the main applicant, you can do that. And if they are applying in a gap or 1 or 2 months, that's absolutely fine. That's their decision. They can apply together. They can apply individually after they receive the decision of main applicant.
And there are many questions about other tests, like say for Duolingo or IELTS indicator. So what about those tests? Like, are they acceptable? Like, if university accept those, do you take interview for those students mainly, or it's not like that?
Well, I'm not the right person to actually answer that. So it's on the entire circumstances of the student, where they feel that they need more information from the students. As far as I'm aware, Duolingo is not recognized in most of the cases, but it's, as been mentioning, it's still the higher education institute who will confirm to the students whether this is acceptable and what are the other requirements that they need to submit. So it's on the higher education institute that they will be communicating to the students.
So any other your advice for students or any stakeholders? Because I think the period may change in future. Like I think the require like with the interviews and all those things.
Mhm.
I think there might be some advice from your end for students and all the stakeholders.
Yes, sure. So, if they are called for the interview, so the students need not be nervous about it. If they are genuine students and they have submitted all the requirements, there isn't any forged documents or incorrect documents submitted, and they possess English language skills, they shouldn't be worried about it. They should be, they should know why they have opted for this course. And it's actually really on the circumstances of each students, wherein visa officer would need to more details and to understand the reason for choosing the course or the university. So I had one of the question here wherein someone was asking what are the questions asked during the interview. You do not get the questions before your exams, do you? So it's just that you should be aware of the of your own circumstances. You should be aware where you have applied. You should be aware about the circumstances in UK, and it has to be under the genuine student rule. You have the genuine intention to study in the UK apart from anything else. And other advices as per the application processes, please apply in advance. The standard service time is 15 working days after you submit the application. The documents should be genuine and should be complete. There is a mandatory requirement for a TB certificate, the CAS certificate issued by the university, and if there are any documents that they have submitted to the university, that is the academic documents, they also need to be submitted along with the application. And the important update and the change which I have mentioned during the presentation is the change of the IHS fees, which is £470 now. So in all, so I've also covered what has been the main reason for the refusals of the visas. If the funds are not maintained for 28 days, and if the funds are not enough, as I've mentioned, the amount of funds to be submitted, which is around £11,300 for university in London, around approximately £9,100 for university, which is outside London. The amount, the maintenance funds should be enough to support the student in UK, the TB certificate, the caste letter, all the genuine documents to be submitted along with the application. So that those are the top tips and the advice that I can give to the students here today.
Okay, so I think most of the things you covered. And thanks, Divya, for this insightful presentation. Thanks to all students for attending this session. If you have any queries about like university or anything, you can ask us. About student visa, I think Divya has covered everything. So thanks, Divya. Anything else you want to mention?
Thank you very much, Rupesh, for having me today here. If there are any other specific queries related to policies and the guidelines, I'll be happy to answer them. You can email it to me, and students can route the queries through you, and then I'll be happy to answer and provide those answers to you. And it was a pleasure to be a part of the presentation today. Thank you
Thanks,
very
Divya.
much.
Yeah. Thanks, Divya. To all the students, if you have any question, please send us. We will forward it to Divya and we will get back to you with your answers. So thanks, Divya. Thanks to you and department for the support. And this session, student can have like transparent answer from you because students have many queries and sometimes they like are confused with different answer from different people. So hearing from you is great thing for the students. So thanks, Divya, for that.
Thank you very much, Rupesh, and all the best to all the students who are applying for the next intake.
Yeah, so I'm closing now. Yeah.